Hi folks, back at the bunker today to do some maintenance and sort of do some work on the power supply for the bunker. So I'm in the shed here at the moment, and what I used to do was I used to charge the battery for the bunker up here, and then I would bring it below ground when I needed it, and then run the whole post off 12 volt. Now on my last open day, unfortunately, this battery gave up the ghost and just didn't supply power at all. So you can see the solar charge controller up there, and that usually is connected to the battery, and then the wire goes outside, and that connects to that solar panel, and that's how I get my power. So I'll just close the door here because it's quite windy outside. So what I've done instead is, during the sort of Black Friday sales, they had one of these, which is a Jackery. This is a Jackery 240. There's a Jackery 500 and a Jackery 1000, and to be honest with you, I didn't need anything that big. The 240 is enough for my power needs. It's charging at the moment. Well, it's not actually charging because the battery is 100%, but the cable goes up, and the good thing about the Jackery is it actually has a solar charge controller built into it. So I have that cable coming up round, and then it's running out to the solar panel outside. So that's good, so I can charge it from here if I need to as well. And then I have this cable coming out, and that's running up to this switch here, which controls this light. So I've got power in here, so if I switch this button on here, that turns on this supply, and then if I flick the switch over here, I've got a light. So I know it's supplying power okay, and I think that light's 5 watts, so that little indicator goes up to 5 watts, which is good. So I'll turn this off. So I know this unit's working. I know I can charge it from solar, which is what I wanted, and if I ever need to have it up here, to do some work, I can have it sitting up on the desk here and having it all plugged in and doing what it needs to. So that battery is going to go in the bin. That is done. It does take a charge, but it won't hold a charge. So it'll sit up at about 13 volts, and the minute you turn anything on, the voltage will just start dropping really, really quickly. And during my last open day, all the lights failed, so I had to grab the generator and do that. So what I'm going to do is bring this below ground down into the bunker, and then I'm going to do a little bit of work down there so that I can run the bunker using this. And what I also want to do is the above ground power supply. So originally when the post was in operation, they would have plugged in a generator, and that would have charged the batteries below ground in the post. So what I want to do instead is be able to plug this in on the surface, and then it'll run all the power downstairs. So I've already made up a cable to do that. I just have to test it. But we'll do a quick jump cut, we'll go below ground, and we'll get this running the post. Okay, so I've got the bunker wired up the way sort of I always have it, and it's running off a battery. Now that's a lot smaller battery. That's a 7 amp hour battery, a lot smaller than I usually run the bunker off. I usually run the bunker off about a 22 amp hour battery. So you can also see here I've got plugs, two 240 volt plugs. That's when I run a generator. So I've got power then coming down here, so I can run 240 volt appliances like that radiator, for instance, which does come in very handy, especially this part of the year. And then I've got that plug coming in, and that's a 12 volt or 240 volt to 12 volt adapter, so I can run all the 12 volt bits and pieces. So all I need to do now is just do a little bit of rewiring to allow me to connect the Jackery. So there's the Jackery there in its little carry case. So a little bit of rewiring just to get it to sort of integrate with the post. And once I do that, I'll be able to run the post off the Jackery. I'll be able to run the post off the battery connections. And yes, it'll make it a lot easier to sort of give me just more ways to power the post, make it easier to power the post, which is what you want. And obviously if you are restoring a post, everything runs off 12 volt. That's how it used to work. That is the sort of the only light they originally had, was that little bulb there. I've added in that LED just to give it a bit more light, and then I've added another light over here as well. And everything's on its own independent switch, so you can turn that light on and off. You can turn that light on and off independently. You can turn that light on and off independently. You can swap that from that over to the fluorescent if you want to independently. So just gives you a lot more scope, and that's how the post originally was. You had 2 bulbs, and you could only have one on at one time, so you could not have this on and this on at the same time. You swap between them. You had a light timer over here, so that in case you left the post lights on and left, you would flatten the battery. So you had that timer, which you would tend to use to, you know, especially if the batteries are down here all the time, you would use the light timer to avoid flattening the battery. So because I don't keep a battery down here all the time, I don't need to use the light timer. But yeah, so what I generally run 12 volt off in here is the lights, and then I've got the two modems which live in the radio box there. So that's sort of all the power I use down here. So what I'm going to do is hook everything up, and then turn the Jackery on, and then turn on everything. And then once I have everything on and I have the Jackery going, it'll tell me the wattage it's putting out. So I can sort of work out then how long I'll be able to run everything in the post for. And I'm hoping it's going to be sort of 7 or 8 hours. And that way, if I do have an open day, I can use the Jackery for the entire open day to run the entire post. So I'll do a little bit of rewiring, and then I'll come back and show you what I've done before I hook up the Jackery. Okay, so I've rewired everything so that it will all work with the post. So there's sort of the all original wiring, still connected to the battery, but that's the most important bit. The fact that that's getting power means that it's receiving power from there. So it's in the circuit. So once I connect up the Jackery, so once I plug that into the Jackery, then that will supply power to the whole post. So all I have to do then is disconnect this battery, plug that into the Jackery, and bang, I'm all hooked up. What I've also done is I have removed all the connections from the solar charge controller. So the power coming from the sort of battery charge connector on the surface now runs directly into the circuit. So if I connect the Jackery on the surface, it runs into the circuit and all the light will work. All the lights will work down here too. So I think I'm going to leave these in situ so that I can power the post with a battery if I want to, just as a backup, just an emergency. And what I'll have to do is I'll have to keep these well away from each other, because once sort of the Jackery gets plugged in, these will both go live. So I'll have to just be very, very careful with those. So keep them connected, you know, one up here and one down here, probably in the battery box. So the way I've done it is I can have the Jackery in the battery box if I want to, or I can have it outside the battery box or on the surface. So yeah, all working okay. I'll disconnect these now and plug the Jackery in, and I'll let you see what that looks like. And there we go. So I'm pulling 6 watts at the moment from the main light in the post. So I'll start switching on lights, and I'll come back to this and see how much power we're drawing. Okay, so that's lot light on now, so we'll see what we've gone up to. And we've bounced up from 6 watts to 12 watts. So we're pulling 12 watts now from the 240 watt hour battery. So I'll turn on this light now. We'll see what we're on now. So we're on 18 watts. So we've jumped up to 18. And then, well, we've got that fluorescent, so that'll be pulling the same as that, but we generally only really have that light on. So I'll run over here and I'll plug in the modem and the router, and I'll need both hands for that, so I'll do a very, very quick jump cut. Okay, modem and router are both switched on. I'll turn on this too. Yep, on. Okay, and we'll see what power we're drawing. So there we are, 37 watts we're drawing from this Jackery. So that's 37 watts for the entire post. So, I mean, if I don't need to have this on all the time, so we'll turn that off. I don't think that'll be drawing much power anyway. So what were we on? 37 before. And look at that, we've dropped down to 24. So that was drawing quite a lot of power actually. There must be a little LED light strip in that. So that's interesting to note, that there draws quite a little bit of power. I do keep that light on pretty much all of the open days I have, but I'll know in future only to turn that on every now and again. But yeah, that's interesting how much power that draws. You sort of when you have a device like that or with batteries, you do start to pay a bit more attention to how much power you're using. So let me see if everything is connected. Make sure the modems and everything's on. Yep, we're connected, and that's connected. So the Teletalk should now be working. Not yet.
You are currently the only person in this conference.
There we go. So that's the Teletalk now connected to the conference server or the internet. So that means we're getting internet, and that is providing then the correct voltage and the connection to get that working. So let's see if that has made any difference. It shouldn't have made any difference, but let me just... Nope, still at 25 watts. So yeah, that's pretty excellent that we're only drawing 25 watts. So we have this entire post, obviously minus that, running on 25 watts. That's superb. That's absolutely superb. Okay, 25 watts. That's good. We can work with that. Yeah, that's excellent. Right, okay. Let me do some maths and I'll get back to you. Right, so it's been a couple of minutes. Just letting everything, just make sure everything's okay and working properly and that doesn't blow up for some unknown reason. Good news is everything seems to be working fine. So I've worked out that I'm using 2.08 amps. So that's in total. So that's the 25 watts with 12 volt. So I'm using 2.8 amps. And that works out at about 9.6 hours I can run the post for with this voltage. So if I turn off that, for instance, that little bulb there, I'm going to be pulling even less power. So that... I've turned everything off there. Pressed the wrong button. That is the control for this. You can see when I turned it off, everything went off. So what are we on here? We're down to 18 watts there. That's as everything, sort of the modem and everything powers back on again. So I've saved myself about 6 watts turning that off. So dropping that down, that will get me over 10 hours of use in the post. And if I was down here sort of staying the night, I wouldn't actually have that little bulb on. I would probably just have the main bulb on, the big one. So that's good, the fact I'm on 18 watts then with that little bulb off. So for a normal open day, I can run the post for about 9.5 hours, which is way more than I'll ever need, which is excellent. And then if I'm camping down here, to be honest with you, 9 hours would also do me. So I could run everything in here with that. That's the Teletalk coming back alive again. So, I mean, this only has to be on when we're demonstrating it. So that doesn't really use very much. Yeah, I'm really glad I got this now because it was on, now, okay, it wasn't cheap. It still cost me, I think it was £198, I think, in total at the end. It was on special price from $250. So I did okay on that. The solar, the Jackery 500, I think is about £500. I think generally the 500 is 500, and the 1000, which has a 1000 amp hour battery, it's about £1,000. So the 240 is the smallest version that they sell in the UK, and it's a really handy device. I mean, I haven't really shown it off very much, but what's cool about it is obviously you get a 12 volt cigarette lighter adapter. You've 2 USB ports here. Hold on, let me lock the focus. You've got your input for the charger there, and then underneath you have a 240 volt receptacle. So you can run up to 240 watts. Okay, you're not going to be running a hairdryer off this or a vacuum cleaner or something out there, but you'll be able to run a TV off this and a DVD player and things like that. And for camping, that's a great little device to bring with you, so you can charge your mobile phone, or you can bring a computer with you or something like that, an iPad for instance. Great item. I have been looking at them for a while. They only started to become available in the UK, I think last year, from the States, so I was waiting just to make sure that they were getting good reviews, and they do get good reviews. And yes, there are cheaper models available on Amazon, but the Jackery is a well-known brand name now, and I just thought I'd go for one. I'll be able to put it in this box here, which is good. I'll be able to do that, and then if I want to, when I'm camping, I can just leave it sitting up top here, and then I can plug my mobile phone in and charge it overnight. I'll hide these cables a little bit better. These won't be staying down here all the time. I'll probably just leave, I've got a splitter here so I can split that in two. I'll just leave this bit sort of hanging down here somewhere. And yeah, absolutely perfect. Really, really happy with that. And that'll be excellent for running the post down here in future. Now, what I was going to do was my light fixture broke during my last open day, and I've temporarily fitted one, and it actually seems to be working really well. I was going to replace it with this, but I think that looks much better. So I think I'll just leave that up here, and I'll just leave a spare one down here if I ever need it. But yeah, that's pretty cool. So the last thing I want to do is go up top and connect the Jackery. Let me fix the focus. Sorry if that has been off for a while. Yeah, what I want to do is go up above ground and connect the Jackery via the generator connector, which comes down here from the surface and then comes down this wire and then runs across up over the top and then comes down here into that fuse box and then in there. So originally that was my solar charger, went into there, but I think I'll convert it now for a way of connecting the post from above ground. But yeah, everything else seems to be working perfectly. So all I need to do now is go up top and try the cable that I've made, which is that big cable in the bag there. Get that all connected, and fingers crossed, everything works. So yeah, another jump cut, and I'll be on the surface. The wind's bad, so I'll make this one short. There's the connector going in. There's it running up to the Jackery. That's plugged in, and it's currently supplying 6 watts, and that is because I just have the main light on downstairs. And I'll run down very, very quickly just to show you that the main light is indeed working. Yep, it is working. That is brilliant. That is so, so good. There you go. I can run everything from down here now. Just check. I've done all the... I have. There you go. So, if I want to have the Jackery charging on the surface, if required, then I can run the bunker from above ground with the Jackery while it's being charged, so it'll do pass-through charging. That is brilliant. That is absolutely fantastic. And yeah, with the 240 volt output up there as well, I can use that for other things as well. So if I need to run something 240 volt on the surface, I could plug that into the 240 volt output on the Jackery. That's really, really good. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to run the radiator or anything off it, but you know, I've got the generator connection for that. So there we go. That sort of shows you a few ideas for powering the bunker, and it's made the bunker here a bit more efficient power-wise. At least now I know exactly how much power I'm using. I actually worked out that if I literally only have that light on and the modem, so I actually really don't need the modem on, because a lot of the times I don't use the Teletalk, especially if I'm camping down here. I wouldn't really have the Teletalk on all the time. But if I'm using the Wi-Fi and just that light, I actually have enough power in that Jackery to run the post for 20 hours. So that's, you know, that's a full camp here, which is fantastic. You know, leave it running all night, which is great. And you know, backed up with the generator as well. I could get the radiator going, and then I could turn the generator off once it gets up to temperature and just run for the rest of the night off the Jackery. Because really all you need is the Wi-Fi and a light, and that's it. So absolutely brilliant. Gives me all the power I need down here. And yes, I'm glad I went for the 240 now and not the 500, because I think 500 would have just been overkill and I would not have needed that. I can run everything quite happily on the 240. But yeah, if anybody needs any advice, and I think a guy asked me about the fuse box a couple of weeks ago, the fuse box down there. I don't actually have that fuse box wired up. That is just a fake cable going in there. I have all my fuses and everything in that box, and then the Jackery has its own fuse, generator has its own fuse, so everything is safe. And that would be the way if anybody was rewiring their post, I would advise them to redo it like that. There's no need to make it exactly as it was. there's a lot safer ways of wiring things these days, and I would advise doing it that way. Putting all your fuse on your individual circuits, because you do want to add in more things like, you know, hidden cables and, you know, power supply for running modems and things like that there, if you want to make the post a little bit more modern, so you can actually use it for other things. And that's good as well. I've got the little green LED up there, is still working, that I fitted a couple of months ago. That is obviously connected to the Jackery as well, showing what the power situation is like. So at a glance, you can see that the Jackery power is good. Really happy with that. Yeah, this video was a wee bit longer than I thought it was going to be, but yeah, that's I'm really happy to get that done. I knew it would work, and I knew I could do it. I just had to buy some other cables just to make everything easy, so you could sort of swap between different styles of power. And the way I have it now is I can run the post off the generator, I can run the post off battery, and I can run the post off the Jackery supply as well, which is great. Okay, so hopefully you'll enjoy that, folks, and I think this video is going out before Christmas. I'm not entirely sure. I have a couple of sort of little Geiger counter check source reviews to do. I've got my hands on some interesting bits and pieces, and there will be a review of the check source from the DP2 as soon as I can get myself some glass. I need a reasonably thick piece of glass just to make sure that I don't die. And I don't want to die, so yeah, I want to make it as safe as possible. But listen, folks, as always, thank you very, very much for watching, and I'll see you all again next time. Bye bye.